Hey guys, I'm Ilya, and in this no-code tutorial, we're taking our Instagram AI chatbot to the next level. In part 1, I showed you how to build an agent with smart message buffering using Manychat, n8n, and Redis. Today, we're upgrading that setup into a powerful RAG agent. This agent pulls information directly from a PDF your client stores on Google Drive, processes it with the Pinecone Vector Database, and uses it to answer customer questions on Instagram all automatically. This is part 2, so if you haven't seen part 1, go check it out first, or grab a ready-to-use template from my free Skool community, link below. Let's check out how the final result will look like. Okay guys, so you can see that all the action again happens in the IG chat, in this case with the Myreva beauty salon. So first we can know that the message buffering works as it should. So this customer again sends messages in short bursts instead of one big message, and the AI reads all these small messages as one big message. The whole conversation is very casual, but at the same time useful. So the agent provides all the, says like, oh, for sure, and at the same time provides all the information regarding their services. So important note is that it gets all this data from all this information about the business from the PDF file, which is stored on the customer's Google Drive. So we can have very big volume of data there. So this PDF can be 20, 40, 100, 150 pages, doesn't matter. And the agent will read strictly this data and will have no problems using this data. So in part 1 build, we just added, as you remember, all this data into the prompt, and you can't do it when there is a lot of information about the business and about the services. So yeah, so also the agent doesn't really push the client for the booking. So instead of it has this casual conversation, provides all the information about the services. And if the client is interested, like right now, then it says like, oh yeah, okay, you want to try it out. And then if the client says sure, then provides the information about the price, the length of the procedure, and asks for the contact information. So once this contact information is sent, the agent will record this data in the Google Sheets. So you can also connect it to Airtable. We can also connect it to Airtable or any other CRM that the business uses. But for this tutorial, we're going to use Google Sheets, not to overcomplicate it. So this agent can pretty much replace the customer support of the small to medium business, and yeah, great value. So let's guys go to project overview. I'm going to show you how it is built. Okay guys, so let's do a very short recap of the part 1 of the agent Instagram AI chatbot we built in part 1. So here we have this very small automation in Manychat, which triggers every time the clients send message to the IG account that is linked to this automation. So it triggers when the message arrives, and then with this action step, we send with the HTTP request node, we send this message to our n8n automation. And this is how the automation looks like. So the webhook receives this message, and then we add this message into the Redis stack. So for each set of messages, we create an array, and this array is created, message is added, then we wait some time, like 15 seconds, and then we check if the last message in the stack is equal to message in the webhook, so the last message that the user sent. So if they are equal, it means that the user sent a message, 15 seconds with this node they passed, and then it means that the user is waiting for the reply. So we check it with this if statement, and if it is true, we combine all these items in this array, all these messages from the array into one big message, create also a variable for this specific message, assign this variable these messages, this like group of messages, delete this array from the database, so we keep database nice and clean, and then we send it to we send this variable to the AI agent, and this AI agent gets the message, reads it, has all the instructions what to answer, processes with the reply, and sends the reply back to HTTP request node. And this HTTP request node sends it back to Manychat automation, and the user gets the message. So this is how it worked in part 1, and this is how the automation looks like will look like after we build it with the RAG. So here this part is pretty much the same. I should actually better start with it consists of two automations basically. So this other small automation is built for pushing the data to the Pinecone Vector Store. So I know it sounds very scary and complex, but just hold on for a second. I will explain everything. It's not that difficult, nothing really difficult here. So we got a basic trigger here. So when we start the workflow, we start it manually. So this node, Google Drive node, it is connected through the Google Cloud Console to the folder of our client. And in this folder, there should be a PDF file with all the business information. So this node downloads this PDF file as a binary file into the n8n automation and passes it to Vector Store node, Pinecone Vector Store. So Pinecone gets this binary file. It doesn't upload it to the database yet, it just gets it inside here, inside the n8n automation. And with the default data loader node, it reads this file. So it gets as a binary file .pdf, and with the default data loader, it reads the file and extracts the actual text from it, actual raw data. And with the recursive character text splitter, it splits this text into chunks. So, for instance, in this automation, we have a chunk size of 1000 characters. So let's say we get a PDF file with let's say 5 pages. So it's a binary file .pdf with 5 pages. We send it here. And with the default data loader, we extract the content of this file. So let's say in these 5 pages, there is 10,000 characters. So this default data loader node extracts all these 10,000 characters. And the recursive character text splitter divides these 10,000 characters into chunks. And since one chunk is 1000 characters, we will have 10 chunks basically. So one chunk is 1000, so 10 chunks, 10,000 characters. So we have these 10,000 characters, 10,000 characters, yeah, and 10 chunks. And with OpenAI embeddings node, we create embeddings. So embeddings mean that you get, let's say, 1000 characters chunk of information, so it's 1000 characters, and you assign a meaning to this chunk. So OpenAI reads this data, reads this text, and creates a mathematical vector, it's called. So basically a mathematical formula. So now we have these 10 chunks of data, so 1000 characters each, and thanks to embeddings OpenAI node, we now have assigned a meaning to each of the chunk. So now this whole data is prepared to be uploaded to Pinecone Vector Store, and it is being uploaded. So the trick with the Vector Store database is that it's not your regular database. It doesn't store files as you would expect, like, I don't know, from Google Drive, for instance. It doesn't store binary files. So we prepare the data, and now it stores these embeddings, so basically chunks of data with the assigned embedding or meaning or mathematical vector. You can call it, it's all the same thing. And in this case, we can search through this database much faster. So we prepare all this data through this automation, and then all the magic happens here. So this part is pretty much the same as in the part 1. It's actually literally the same. We don't need to do any changes here. So we get the message, we add it to the stack, then we check the stack, and then we combine all these messages from this stack into one big message, clean the stack, and now we have a message from the user. Fantastic. So what do we do next? We check with GPT 4.1 model that, okay, so this question requires our vector store database or knowledge base. If that's the case, we call this tool, which is answer questions with the vector store. This tool gets this question like in a raw text and sends it to Pinecone Vector Store node. Pinecone Vector Store node sends this text question to this 3 small node, which is embedding model. So what does this embedding model do is that it takes this text, this question, which is in text, and converts it also to embedding. So it assigns it also a meaning, like we just did in this smaller automation here. And now we have this client's question with the embedding, and then we have a PDF file which was split into chunks, and then these chunks were converted, let's say, into embeddings. So now we have a bunch of embeddings, and now Pinecone can very fast search for the most relevant piece of information, for the most relevant chunk by searching through these embeddings. Find the most relevant information, even if the PDF file is 100 pages, it still can do it in milliseconds. So that's the trick with the vector store databases. And then it gets this chunk, it gets these embeddings back to our automation. And so now we have the user's question converted into embedding, and now we have the most relevant to this question embeddings. And with GPT 4.1 model, we convert all this into text. So now we looked through database, we got the result. Before that we converted the user's question into embedding as well. So now we have this bunch of embeddings, and GPT 4.1 converts all these embeddings into simple readable answer. And the manager, this AI agent, has pretty much prepared answer for us. And then we send this answer through HTTP request back to Manychat, and Manychat sends it to the client, to the IG direct message chat. So yeah, also we have here Google Sheets. So in case the client wants to make a booking, the manager node will call this Google Sheets. It's going to be our CRM for this project, and yeah, do the booking there. So if we check the diagram, this is how the agent looked like in the part 1 build. So we had Manychat as a front end. All it does, it gets the messages from IG, sends the message to our backend, which is n8n. OpenAI GPT model processes the message and prepares the reply, and then we send this reply back to Manychat. So with a rack setup right now, it will look like this. So again, we get a message from Manychat, from IG. Manychat gets this message, sends this message like before, just to our backend, which is going to be n8n. But here all the magic happens. So ChatGPT, sorry, not ChatGPT, but the GPT model gets the message and thinks like, okay, so I don't have this kind of information. I need to request info from the external knowledge base. To use the knowledge base, it sends the request to Pinecone. Then all this magic with the question becoming embedding happens. Pinecone searches through the database and provides the most relevant information. All this information is being converted to the readable text, and then we send it back from n8n to Manychat, and Manychat posts it in IG. Also, we have here another scenario is that if the client wants to, for instance, book like, I don't know, class or service or appointment, again, we got this information in GPT model. It understands that, okay, we need to do booking. So in this case, it sends the client's information to Airtable, or for this project is going to be Google Sheets. So it sends the data to Google Sheets, and then it gets back some other data, let's say confirmation. Or yeah, actually, no, for this project there won't be any confirmations. It just sends the data, and this data is added to the Google Sheets. But the trick is that the data comes from here back to GPT as well, because if, for instance, the client wants to update the appointment, like change the let's say email address or phone number, this setup can also do that. So if there is a request to update the phone number, so the clients ask like, okay, what is my phone number? And then GPT asks for this information from Google Sheets, gets this data, sends it, it gets sent to GPT, and GPT sends it to Manychat, and then it's sent to user, and user is like, oh, my phone number is wrong, and then they ask to correct it the same way. I hope this is very, I hope you guys understand it. It's RAG agent is a pretty cool thing, a really powerful thing. So yeah, I hope I explained it very clearly. So what is RAG actually? RAG is retrieval augmented generation, and essentially it's a technique where you attach the external knowledge base to the agent. So basically AI agent plus knowledge base, you have the RAG agent. So it doesn't rely on the resources it relies on the external resources, and these resources are organized, in this case in embeddings. And key benefits of using RAG is that you always get up-to-date responses, so you don't rely on old pre-training data. So for instance, if the let's say latest GPT model, ChatGPT model was like GPT 4.1, for instance, was cut, let's say 3 months or half a year ago, so you get only this data. But with the RAG, you can have all the most relevant data that you upload yourself. Then you have also domain-specific accuracy, so you can inject a very, very niche specific data that, let's say, GPT might not have. So in this case, for instance, data about your particular business, what kind of prices you have, what kind of services you offer, GPT might not have it, but you can write it in all details and easily inject it there, and the agent will be knowledgeable about your data in this case. Then another benefit is the reduced hallucinations. So the model doesn't actually guess, it doesn't try to provide the accurate answer based on the information like it has from the pre-training, but it uses actual data, the data that you uploaded. So the output is always more, let's say, precise. And the last thing, also super important, is scalability. So you don't need to actually fine-tune the agent, you can just replace the knowledge base. So for instance, in part 1, we build the agent which has the knowledge base, let's say, in the prompt, and to change this knowledge base, you have to always change the prompt. And in case with the RAG agents, you don't need to do this. You just build an agent, let's say like agent for beauty salons, and then you give it information in PDF about beauty salons. But if you want to change it to, let's say, fitness coaches, or I don't know, some kind of, like, let's say, niche teachers, you just replace this PDF with their data, and essentially you have the relevant output from the agent, so you don't touch the agent at all. So all in all, RAG is a very powerful thing, and as always, all this information, so all these automations will be available in my free Skool community. So if you don't want to build it in a step-by-step tutorial, you can just download it from my free Skool community. I will leave all the prompts or my PDF that I used and all the setup instructions, so feel free to use it for your own needs. You can try to sell it, try to make your own tutorial, whatever, so just feel free. And yeah, next stage is that we will build the automation from scratch, not actually from scratch, but starting from the part 1 that we built in the previous video. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So step 1, let's build the push data automation. Okay guys, so this is part 1, and we're gonna build a push data automation to download the file from the Google Drive and prepare it in chunks and then in embeddings to get it ready for the use for the RAG agent. Okay, so first let's create a new workflow and let's create a trigger. We're gonna trigger it manually, very simple here. Then let's go for Google Drive node. And we need a download file. So this is perhaps the trickiest part. So what we need here is to create new credential. So we press create new credential and let's choose service account. So now the trickiest part. So first let's go to google.cloud.com and choose your Google account here. It's supposed to be your Google account, your Gmail, not your client's. So perhaps the one you use for the project's development. So, okay, this is the new Gmail I created, so we're going to do everything from scratch here. So I press console and we are in the Google Cloud. Okay, so here's the screen. We need to choose the country, agree to the terms of service and continue. Great, so now we need to create a project. Let's create new project. And I suggest you create, I suggest you use it this way. So you create a project not for one project, for your client's project, but you have to name it somehow more general. Let's say like clients' projects. Because in one specific project, you can store, I think, up to 100 service accounts. And in total, in the free tier, you can have only, it's either 5 or 10 projects. So if you want to use free tier for as long as possible, so you don't have to pay for the Google Cloud, you just create a project and then you create many service accounts there. So you create this general project name and each service account will be for each specific client. So we don't create each new project for each of the clients. So, okay, clients project, create. Fantastic. So our project is getting created. Okay. Now let's go to API and services. And let's get some APIs. So first we need Google Drive. Enable. Let's actually, I think we need to, yeah, let's actually, I think we did it a bit wrong. Let's go with, let's choose, we need to first choose the client's project and then enable the Google Drive API, I'm sorry. Okay, should be done. Now let's go and get Google Sheets. And also enable. Great. Okay, so now let's go to API and services and create auth consent screen. This is a mandatory thing to get everything working. So get started, app name, clients, projects, use support email. I'm going to choose the one I use here for this Google Cloud console. Next, external, next. And email address, I'm also going to use this one. So what is it? Okay. Spectacular. And agree, create. Fantastic. Now let's go back to APIs and services, credentials, and create credentials. So we choose here service account. And now the service account is going to be dedicated to the specific client. So in this case, we create for this beauty salon. So it's going to be Myreva Beauty. Myreva Beauty. The service account is going to be Myreva-Beauty. Fantastic. Create and continue. Continue. Don't need to choose the role and done. Let's refresh the page and see if it was created. Great, so now we have a service account created for this particular client. So this is the place where, let's say if you have 50 different clients, you will have 50 different email addresses there, like as service accounts. So now we need to set this particular account, so press on it. And here we go for the keys. We need to create a key. So add key, create new key, JSON, create. So now we download this key as a JSON file and it will look something like this. So this is the JSON file with the private key. Remember, you have to store it very securely, because with this private key somebody can have access to your service account. So okay, so now everything pretty much set up for our automation. So let's go back to n8n. So what we need here, we need to service email account and the private key. So where do we get that? So service email, service account email, we go back to Google Cloud Console, details, and this is the service email account. So we copy that, go back to n8n, paste. Then we go to our file with the API key and copy it all the way from here, so where the double quotes start, all the way until the end. Actually, let's not copy this /n. So end of private key, this stuff we also, so we copy it all. It's a huge string, and then we paste it here and press save. Let's see if it works. Okay, so it takes a bit of time for this testing button to run. I don't know why, maybe it's a bug in n8n, but let's just close it and we're gonna check if it works a bit differently. So right now it should be your Google Drive node should be connected with the Google Cloud Console account. So what we can do next is pretty cool thing. You just in order to get access to the PDF of your client, all your client has to do is to create a separate folder in their Google Drive. So we suppose that they have a Gmail. If not, they should create one, which is free, so good for them. Then they create a folder in their Google Drive, drop the PDF file with the content, with the knowledge base to this folder, and then they give access. They share this folder with us with this particular email address. So let's imagine I'm a client. I think I have created an account for that. Yes. So here is the account I created. So this is the MyRevas Beauty Gmail account. Let's go to Drive, New folder, and let's name it Knowledge Base. Create. Now let's open this knowledge base, and now they need to upload their PDF file to this account. So you can also use my knowledge base that it will be available in my free Skool community as an example for this particular build. So file upload, and here is our file. Fantastic, open. So the file is uploaded. So as you can see, the file is just a knowledge base with all the information. So it's internal knowledge base, company overview, what kind of company, what does it do, where it's located, what's their tagline and mission. Then also the owner, me in this case. Then services and pricing, so facial treatments, brows and lashes, great. Then booking payments, all this information, policies, promotions, frequently asked questions, and staff directory. So it's a pretty small, let's say, knowledge base. Can be much longer, but for our use case, it should be more than enough. Also, we need to ask the client just for the future to create a Google Sheets document. So let's create a Google Sheets document together. So it's going to be hot leads. Name, email, phone, and service interested in. Let's give it a bit space. Okay, so now we have the PDF file with the knowledge base and the Google Sheets for the hot leads. Okay, so let's go back to n8n and see if the connection was successful. So this is the latest account we created. So resource file, then operation download, and from list. So now we check if it was connected, and okay, let's maybe save and refresh. No results, okay. Okay, seems like we did not connect properly to this. Okay. Oh, actually, guys, no, everything should be working. I think we just forgot to share the folder with our service account. So let's copy this email address. Let's go back to Google Drive, and now we need to share this folder. So to do that, we click on the name of the folder, share, share. Here we add our Google service account, don't need that, and the role editor, share. So now essentially this folder and all its content is shared with our Google service account. So we should be able to access it from n8n. Let's go and check it. And we do have access to the PDF file. Fantastic. So we choose this PDF, and that was the hardest part of this tutorial, guys. Okay, so next we connect the Pinecone Vector Store. So add documents to Vector Store. Okay, insert documents from the list. And now we need to go to pinecone.io. So once you are there, you press sign up, you create an account. Once you create an account, you will see something like this. I mean, obviously you won't have any indexes, so you will need to create an index. So with what is index, you can think of it as a separate database in your Pinecone account. So I suggest you do the same as we did with Google service account. So you just create, they also have a pretty decent tier for the free tier for the computational power they offer. So just create one index. Is going to be one database for all the clients you will host, and for each of the clients we're gonna create a separate namespace, like we did with the separate service accounts. For each client we're gonna do a separate namespace. So create index, let's name it customer projects. Here we choose text embedding 3 small, serverless, AWS, okay, starter plan, okay, create index. Okay, so while the index is initializing, we can set up the API keys. So to do that, let's go to API keys and create new API key. Customer projects. Create key. So we copy this key, we go back to n8n, then we choose here create new credential and paste our API key, and also call it Pinecone API customers save. Connected successfully, fantastic. All right, so now we need to choose the index that we created. And this is going to be customer projects. Great. Embedding batch size, let's just keep it as 200. But then we need to add another property here, which is going to be a Pinecone namespace. So you remember I said that we create one index as a, let's imagine just one database or one big folder. Actually, not folder, like one big database for all the customer projects. And namespace, you can think of it as a folder. So they don't really cross each other in namespaces, so you can freely use separate namespace for a separate client. So our client's name is Myreva Beauty. So we're gonna name it exactly this way. Perfect. Now let's enable embedding model. So embeddings OpenAI. If you don't have an account, you just go to openai.com/playground and create an account there. Should be pretty simple. Once it is created, you just choose text embedding 3 small. So now what we do next? We need the default data loader. So default data loader is going to be binary because it accepts the binary PDF file, and we choose load all input data. That's correct, and automatically detect by MIME type, also correct. Fantastic. And for text splitter, let's use recursive character text splitter. So chunk size 1000, chunk overlap 0. So we're gonna split the text into 1000 characters size, and we won't have any overlap, which is great. So now that's pretty much done. We can test the save and test the workflow to see if it works. Okay, so we got no errors. Seems our workflow is working. Let's go to Pinecone and check what happened there. Close that database, so customer projects. And we get one namespace here. Fantastic. So Manychat Beauty, number of records 6. Okay, so fantastic. We also have all the embeddings here. Great. So this step was successful. So we pushed the data we downloaded the PDF file from Google Drive and pushed it to our Pinecone database. Now we are ready for the step 2 to create the RAG agent to process this data and get a reply to our users. Step 2, let's go. Okay, so part 2, let's make the customizations to our part 1 build to make it agentic RAG. Okay, so we have this build from part 2, and now we need to do some changes. So first thing is that we need to replace the prompt, because before in the prompt we had all the business information and we don't need it anymore. So right now we just only give instructions how to communicate with the clients, but without any business information. So as always, all the prompts will be available in my free Skool community, so you don't need to pause the screen and type it from the screen. Just go to my free Skool community and get it there. So we set up here the role, so you're Alexandra, friendly customer support assistant of Manychat Beauty, objective, then the context, then we do step-by-step answering process instructions, and then we need to specify the tools. This is the most important part. So we specify that there is a knowledge base tool for inquiries that require information and the CRM tool for collecting full name, phone number, and email of the user when they ask to book a class, actually not a class, but to book an appointment. Great, so now there are some general rules and writing style and tone rules. There is plenty of them, so we get more or less, not more or less, but we get a pretty much human-like response according to the format and style of speech that we need for this specific business, and also a bunch of examples. Examples are a very important part, so we have 10 examples here, and they do help a lot with the decent replies, and there are some small notes. So we're not gonna deep dive in this prompt, just copy it from my free Skool community, and here we are. Okay, great. So now let's add some memory. It's going to be simple memory, and let's change to define below. And for the memory, we're going to use this key. So basically, it's the contact ID that we get from the webhook. So as you remember, we send from Manychat not only the message but the contact ID. That's how we know from who we got the message and who we're gonna reply, and we grab it from this node. And for a simple memory, we use a context window length of 20. So 20 last messages will be in the agent's memory. Okay, now let's go with the answer questions, vector store question answer tool. And for the description of data, let's just get this one here. So call this tool to access knowledge base to get information to answer the user's questions, and the limit is 4. So this is the limit of how many chunks of data we get from the PDF from our vector store database. So if we set it too low, then we're not gonna have the exact information. It might be too poor, and if we set it too high, we might exceed the context window of the agent, or the information will be just bloated. It will be just too much. So we have quite big chunks of 1000 characters, if you remember. So in this case, 4 will be just plenty. Great. So now let's connect the Pinecone Vector Store. Okay, we choose the account we created, retrieve documents as vector store for chain tool, great. Then for index, we choose the database that we created. It's going to be customer projects. And for option, we need a namespace. Since we use customer projects index as the big database for all the clients, we need to specify the namespace. And in this case, it will be Myreva Beauty. This is super important that the namespace is exactly as we set it in the previous note. So if we go to our index and go to namespaces, you can see that yes, it is Myreva Beauty written exactly like this. So it should be absolutely exactly written here too. Great. Now, okay, let's arrange it here. Now let's add embedding model. I'm going to use OpenAI again. So our account, text embedding 3 small. Great. And now connect model here, which is OpenAI chat model. So our account and GPT 4.1. Let's go with this one. So where did it go? And yep, here it is. Fantastic. So one thing remaining is that we just add another tool, which is going to be Google Sheets. So we record the interested clients in our leads table. So we choose the account we created before, which is Google Drive account, set automatically, sheet within document, operation not get rows, but instead append or update rows. And document, we choose the document our client provided in their Google Drive folder, hot leads. So as you remember, this is the folder of our client. So let's imagine that this is their Google Drive and this is their folder they gave access that they shared with us with our Google service account. And this is this hot leads table. So name, email, phone number, service interested in, empty, fantastic. Okay, sheet number 1, map each column manually. Let's match on name, and now we're gonna let the AI model define this parameter. So instead of just grabbing the input fields that we would receive to this agent, we will just get a message with the client with a bunch of information like their phone number, email, name, and service interested in, and we're just gonna let the AI model pick these specific parameters and add them here. And okay, so we are pretty much done. Now let's test this automation. So press save, and now let's test it. Okay, fantastic. So seems like the booking went through. Now let's check the table if we actually got this data there. And okay, so name Catherine, email catherine.wilson@gmail.com, phone number, and service interested classic lash extension. So worked like a dream. Fantastic. Okay guys, so that was it. You learned today how to set up a Google Service account, which is an important skill because this way you can just let your client create a separate folder on their Google Drive, drop the document there, share this folder with you through this service email account that you provide, and that's it. You have access to their files, which is super easy for the client, which is great. On top of that, you learned how agentic RAG works. You learned what RAG is and how to get this data from this Google Drive folder, how to process it, how to cut it into chunks, and then make embeddings from these chunks. So I hope it was a lot of value for you, and if you enjoyed my content, hit like and subscribe, that helps a lot. Also join my free Skool community, a lot more interesting and valuable videos coming soon. So thanks a lot and see you soon, guys.